going on, Falcons fans? Logan here. Welcome back to Rise Up Rundown. And if you're new here, welcome. So it's funny because last week I'm pretty sure I said we had to answer the least amount of mailbag questions we ever had in a long time. And then the week after, now we're answering the most mailbag questions I have ever had. Definitely ever. Like, I don't think I've ever had a video that had more than, I don't even know how many mailbag questions I got, but I'm extremely thankful for all the questions that came in. And I was reading some of them before I started, and they're really good questions per usual. So again, thank you for all the questions. And with all of that being said, let's get straight into it. Expo BT886 asked, why is AJ Terrell suddenly becoming underrated? I'll tell you why. Because he had a down year last year and the Falcons didn't make playoffs. That's why. Because when your team doesn't make playoffs, and you're a team like the Falcons where, it's not like they were like the worst team in the league for so many years, but let's be honest. Let's say it as it is. It's not like they were a super successful team in the last few years. And when your team isn't usually on the media like that, people don't really pay attention to your team. And when they don't pay attention to your team, they don't know that you have star players. And when teams like that have a star player have one bad year, suddenly they think that's who they are. It's what it is. I still can't believe AJ Terrell didn't make the top 100 in 2022. Not that it matters, because the top 22 or the top 100 is not all that accurate, but still though, I feel like he still should have been given a spot. So that's why he's underrated, but hopefully he can be getting some recognition this year. 2K Pizza 039 asks, do you think the Falcons will have a top 10 secondary while adding Jesse Bates and Jeff Okudah? And do you think we will have a top 10, 15 defense as a whole? Hashtag rise up, hashtag ATL. That kind of is a great transition to AJ Terrell with the previous question. But one reason I think AJ Terrell could get that national recognition is because, for one thing, I just think he's a talented player to come back from a down year last year anyway. But two, he could be next to, you said, a top 10 secondary this year. And this is a bit of a bold prediction here. I think they can be better than a top 10 secondary. I think they can actually be a top 5. Yeah, I know. I said it. But I really do think it can happen. And it's not just because of the talent we got in. Everyone knows Jesse Bates is probably the best safety in the league. AJ Terrell, honestly, if you said that he was the best corner in the league, at least in 2021, that's really not that big of a hot take. Maybe he can get back to that level. And I think Jeff Okudah can bounce back as well. But it's not just that. I've also been saying that Ryan Nielsen helping the pass rush out, maybe the secondary could really, really benefit from a pass rush like that, and they could play so much better, because I think at this point, we're all starting to agree that I think pass rush is just ever so slightly more important than secondary, and when you affect the quarterback, your secondary can play better. So that's why I think it could be a top 5 even. But and then do I think we can be a top 15 defense as a whole? Sure. I think that's honestly the minimum, don't you think? With Calais Campbell coming in and Jesse Bates, a new defense. Now, I will say it's going to take a little bit of transitioning. I don't think this new first-year defensive coordinator is just going to get things right off the bat. I think he is going to have to adjust a little bit, because he is a young defensive coordinator that nobody really knew of. So it'll take some time, but I think he'll get there. Archangel asks, which rookie are you most intrigued about seeing play this year outside of Bijan? A lot of people really like Clark Phillips, and I'll take their word for it. I think Clark Phillips could also be a reason this secondary could really be boosted. After watching his tape and his highlights and all that stuff, I was like, okay, well, I see the hype. I think this guy can play really well with everything I just said on why the secondary could be really well with the pass rush being better and all that. And he's got great mentors like AJ Terrell and all that. I think Clark Phillips is an easy, he's a fun player to watch. Mark Jones asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, please rate our wide receivers and defensive line. All right, so let's start a little bit of controversy here. Jeez, I can't speak today. Our receiver room, I am gonna have to give a 7. Like, it's not bad. It's just I do need to see a little more. Kyle Pitts. Okay, so I'm not saying Kyle Pitts is bad, but they do need to utilize him, right? Like, if they could just utilize him, that would be really nice. Drake London, I wasn't like wowed by Drake London last year. I was just kind of like, Drake London's a pretty good player. He can probably be better in year 2, but I wasn't like, wow, Drake London, kind of like that. And then Scotty Miller and Matt Collins coming in, kind of the same thing. Like, I didn't get wowed by those signings. Like, I wasn't like, oh my goodness, oh my gosh, we have a receiver set now. It's just kind of like, all right, like, that's a pretty good receiving set there. Jonnu Smith should also be an upgrade. So that's why it's a 7, because we have talented players. I'm not saying they suck. It's just like, I wasn't like amazed. So I'll give it a 7. And then the defensive line, honestly, kind of the same thing. I don't know if first-year defensive coordinator Ryan Nielsen is going to make this pass rush great right away, but maybe down the stretch he will. And then Grady Jarrett, obviously, is still who he is. Calais Campbell is getting up there in age, but I think he's still going to have a pretty good year. And then I really believe in Arnold Ebiketie, so I'll honestly give that I'll give that an 8. I think it's going to be better than a 7. Because again, I think they got the coach to eventually get them where they want to be, and the mentors like Calais Campbell and the young guys like Arnold Ebiketie. I think it'll get there. Tara Turner asks, will the Falcons sign another wide receiver to fill the second wide receiver slot? And are they going to stick with what they got? Hashtag rise up. Well, I hope they do get another wide receiver. I guess I won't explain it too much, because I know I kind of just said the whole, I wasn't wowed by any of the receivers we got. I really do think getting DeAndre Hopkins would really help, because it doesn't really look like he's trying to get on like a Super Bowl team. The Falcons, I think, could be a playoff team, but let's be honest, I don't think they're a Super Bowl team. But the Falcons, I think, are also a team that can give him that money that he's looking for. And not even just that, well, he's DeAndre Hopkins. Like, he could really upgrade this receiving set a lot. And he's a veteran. He could also get Desmond Ridder some help and improve these young guys that we got anyway. And if not DeAndre Hopkins, I still think they should get another guy. But do I think they're going to? Honestly, not really. I think at this point, the Falcons are just going to stick with the roster that they got. Archangel asks, what positions were you the most on this year's Falcons team? I like that question. I'm probably going to have to go with the linebackers. I'm not super set on those yet. Michael Walker, I looked like I was wrong about him for so many years. I remember saying that getting Michael Walker in the 4th round, I believe, was a reach. And for a while, yeah, he looked like he was way better than that. But last year, didn't really have his best year. And I just think you can do a little better than Michael Walker. And then the other linebackers we got, I like Troy Anderson a lot, and I still root for him. I love his story and, that he plays more than one position and all that. But, it's going to take some time for him to develop. And I don't know, like this linebacker room, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be this great linebacking set for the Falcons. I mean, it's not going to kill our season. It's, linebackers, they're important, but let's be real, they're not as important as pass rush or secondary, so at least that's good for our defense, is we have a good weakness to worry about, but I'm not too high on this linebacker set. Archangel asks, what are your goals for the defense? Be at least in the top 15, that's for sure. We can't be in the 20s anymore, please. Or even the 30s. So at least be a top 15. I do think that the secondary should be a top 5 or 10. You can't bring in Jesse Bates and Jeff Okudah and Clark Phillips and have AJ Terrell and all that and have a disappointing year. I think that's a huge letdown from the Falcons if that happens. Like, that you'd be doing something wrong if this secondary was not at least in the top 10. And hopefully benefiting from a good pass rush. So you got to get that going. And I think you kind of just have to make sure the young guys are doing good. Like, Arnold Ebiketie should do well. And, Troy Anderson, I think, should see improvements. AJ Terrell is still kind of young, so I think hopefully he should step up. And Richie Grant needs to step up. So I think those are the goals for the defense. That one Falcons fan for life asked, best and worst case scenario for the team. Should we pursue Vikings DN Danielle Hunter? Honestly, I would not go for Danielle Hunter. He, to me, is kind of just another one of those pass rushers. That's not quite what he once was. It's not that he wouldn't, help us out. I don't know. He's just another one of those pass rushers. That's not who he once was. And, if we did get him, I don't think we should get him for long. Maybe like a 1 or 2 year deal. He's another Vikings player that probably won't be on the Vikings for too long. And then best and worst case scenario for the team. I think best case scenario is we win 10 games and host a playoff game. Because, I think that should help us win the division. And then worst case is, I guess we win 9 games and somehow, some way still make like the 7th seed in the playoffs. Like, this NFC is a little weak to just not make playoffs. Like, the more the year goes by, the more I'm just kind of like, okay, I can definitely see why people are hyping up the playoffs, because it's so, hard to miss. It's just, it all depends on Desmond Ridder. And the worst case scenario is that he looks so bad and you bring in Taylor Heineke that he's good enough to take you to at least the 7th seed of the playoffs. But the best case is that Desmond Ridder is really good and he hosts you a playoff game. But do I think we're going to win a playoff game? Not yet. I think this team is just a little too inexperienced. But, hey, making the playoffs is a step forward in the right direction. Archangel asks, what are your goals for the offense? I would say you have to be at least a top 10 offense. Arthur Smith is this offensive guru that everyone's hyping up. I would like to see some of that guru come in. And we have to make sure that this running game is as good as everyone's hyping it up to be, which I'm not worried about. That's the one position in the Falcons I am definitely not worried about, is this running game. Make sure Desmond Ridder improves, obviously. That's a no-brainer. We would love to see if Desmond Ridder really is the next Dak Prescott. And then number 3 is just utilize Kyle Pitts. Oh my goodness, why are we struggling with this? That was Arthur Smith's first draft pick. I would like to see him get utilized a lot more. People kind of forgot how good he is. I'll say it, some idiots online are saying that he's already a bust. And that really triggers me. I would like to not see that. So, yeah, I would say just be a top 10 offense, get Kyle Pitts utilized, and develop Desmond Ridder. Archangel asks, will you make Falcons training camp this year? They also will be a training camp in Miami this year. I'm probably not going to make training camp this year. I think there's just a little too much to prepare for in August that, I'm not going to get into my personal life there, but I unfortunately probably can't make the training camp. The one in Miami, maybe. I know my brother and I were talking about the Miami training camp a little bit, and I don't know if it's gonna happen, but that would be such a great memory, and I would vlog my time there and tell you what I saw. Hopefully that happens. Fingers crossed. But at the moment, it doesn't look like there's any training camp going on. Archangel asks, who will lead this team in interceptions this year? I don't know. I like that question. I don't know. It could be anyone. But I'll have to go with That's a tough question. I guess I'll go with AJ Terrell. He's probably hungry for a bounce back year and to get recognition. And they're not really gonna, opponents are gonna try their absolute hardest not to throw to Jesse Bates. But even when you throw to Jesse Bates' side, AJ Terrell is probably gonna be there eventually. So, I guess I'll get AJ Terrell going. Archangel asks, who's your favorite Falcons pass rusher of all time outside of Grady Jarrett? I don't know. I've been a fan since 2015. Grady Jarrett was really the only great pass rusher I've ever seen the Falcons have. But, hopefully Arnold Ebiketie can live up to the hype. I've always liked Arnold Ebiketie. Like, when we got him, I was super excited. And I'm always hyping him up. Like, on Twitter, I'm saying that he's very underrated and people are sleeping on him. And here I am in this video saying that we should get Arnold Ebiketie going. So I guess I'll say Arnold Ebiketie. We just really have to get him going. Archangel asks, what annoys you the most about the Falcons fans? I'm trying to stay away from, cliche answers. Obviously, a lot of people are going to say, when the fan base is too negative. Everyone hates that. But what's, something that secretly triggers me? I think when they hold grudges, I'm not a big fan of that. I don't know. It kind of rubs me the wrong way. I'm not going to get into the Kyle Shanahan grudge for too long because I feel like I've made my stance clear that I personally forgive Kyle Shanahan. But then there's other players or coaches I'm not, look. I know what Mike Vick did was not right. I know. But it's been years, please. Just let it go. It's for your mental health anyway. Just let it go, dude. I wish people could just see the good that some people did for the Falcons. Yeah, I know Kyle Shanahan made a mistake. But I always view him for what he did to help us even get to the Super Bowl. I don't view him for just his Super Bowl mistakes. Devontae Freeman, yeah, I know he was a swinging door in the Super Bowl, but whatever. I always view him for all the great things he did to help us even get to the Super Bowl. I just wish people wouldn't hold in grudges. I know, it's hard. I get it. There's always these personal things for people to hold in grudges, so it's hard to judge those, but I don't know. And I wish people would let go, but that's my answer. Archangel asks, I feel like I may have asked this before, but who do you think will be our biggest competition in the NFC South? And who is our biggest competition in the NFC? I would say the Panthers are our biggest competition in the NFC South. A bold prediction, but I really do think we can sweep the Saints this year. All of the Falcons players that we're picking up, or the Saints players that we're picking up, and coaches, like Ryan Nielsen and Terry Fontenot, David Onyemata. I forgot to mention that he's a reason our pass rush could be improved. Caden Ellis, they're all going to be hungry to get revenge on the Saints for them not paying them and all that. And the Falcons play pretty well against Derek Carr, so I'm not really too worried about that. And then the Bucks, I don't know. They're a team that I, for some reason, think we can split the series to. It's weird. I just do. I think the Bucks are slightly better than what everyone's making them out to be. They still have some of that Super Bowl talent, but the Panthers, giving them credit, they are heading in the right direction, it seems, with Bryce Young and Frank Reich, I think, is their head coach. So I think they're our biggest competition in the division. But in the NFC, I'm trying to stay away from obvious, the Eagles are a competition and the Cowboys and all that, but I would have to say the Lions. They're a year ahead of where we want to be, I think. I think Dan Campbell's doing some good things with that team, and they're also getting an offense going and a hopeful defense. So if there's one team that we're going to have to fight with to get, a playoff spot, that doesn't have to do with winning our division. Like, if we can't win our division, but we're still trying to get the 6th seed or something, I think Detroit's going to be a bit of a challenge. So I guess I'll have to say Detroit. Archangel asks, I talked to Falcons Empire about joining you, and he said all you got to do is reach out to him. So, will you? I think you and him would make a great team. I'll spoil this much. There actually is another interview coming very soon, but it's not with Falcons Empire. I think you're going to like this interview a lot. When is it coming out? I'm not quite sure yet. We're trying to arrange when this interview is going to eventually happen, but it's just happening is all I can really say. But with Falcons Empire, guess we'll have to reach out and see where it goes. Archangel asks, who will be the workhorse of the Falcons offense outside of Bijan? Well, I'm hoping it's Kyle Pitts. I want him to get utilized a lot. Let's see Kyle Pitts have an epic bounce back year. Actually, oh my gosh, screw it. Let's just say it. Kyle Pitts should be the workhorse outside of Bijan. Give him the recognition that he deserves. People forget that he was like this, quote unquote generational talent coming out of the draft. And, we drafted the best player available in that draft. And, people were like, oh, he can play more than tight end. Like, let's give him the recognition he deserves. He still deserves the ball a lot. And we have to get him going, please. Let's give him the greatest comeback ever, or else he's going to be kind of frustrated he's on this team because he was a 4th round pick, the highest tight end drafted ever. I think we should get him utilized. Grady Jarrett asks, who will lead this team in sacks this year outside of Grady Jarrett? I know I keep hyping him up, but I really like Arnold Ebiketie. I just do. I think he's going to have an awesome year. Great mentors to learn from, like David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett, Calais Campbell, Ryan Nielsen. Hopefully should get him going. Ryan Nielsen has a thing with getting these young pass rushers going. And also, Arnold Ebiketie played pretty well before he had this injury. I would imagine that now that opposing offensive lines are going to have to worry about more than Grady Jarrett, it's going to be hard to double team someone. So Arnold Ebiketie could also benefit from that. They can't, double team Grady Jarrett for too long because then they got to worry about Calais Campbell, but then they have to worry about David Onyemata, and then they have to worry about Arnold Ebiketie. I think it's going to be exciting. User YK1RM5MS1H says, good, let the haters rage because when we rise up, we're going to shut them up. Which maybe wasn't a question, but hey, you're right. Rise up and let's prove them wrong. And he also asked, my question, Logan, is do we or don't we go 11-6? So people really hate that I'm not predicting 11 wins. It's really just because I think our new defensive coordinator is going to have to adjust a little bit in his first year, and Desmond Ridder as well. Remember, Desmond Ridder didn't get, a lot of playing time last year, and in the start of the year, with a lot of weapons to work with, but he is going to have to create a chemistry with them all. I think it can happen. I'm simply just saying I think it could be a slow start. Especially because the beginning of our season is probably the hardest part of our season, facing the Jaguars and the Lions and all that. But yeah, I mean, if we got 11 wins, I think that's best case scenario. If we get 12 or more wins, for me personally, I think that would be a little shocking because I think our team is playoff good, but I don't know if they're that good. I don't know if they're capable of getting 12 or more wins, but 11 wins, I think, is best case scenario with this easy schedule and NFC to go through and with all these weapons we're bringing in. But I'm simply just saying I think it'll be a slow start. But is it possible? Yeah. Archangel asks, what makes you the proudest about the Falcons fans? It's that they never give up. I think that's the best thing to say about the Falcons. When I first started this channel, I was in denial so bad that the Falcons were one of the more quote-unquote cursed teams. I still don't think they're cursed, but as time went on, I started to believe because with all these blown leads and the Super Bowl loss and all these, all this mess, all these messes that are going on with the Falcons. But, as embarrassing as it was these few years to just see what happens with the team, it's good to see that no one gives up on them. And that's what I'm proudest of with the Falcons fans. People don't want to say it. Like, they always say, oh, the Jets fans are loyal, the Browns fans are loyal, but Falcons fans are very loyal. And I have to say thank you for being loyal to your team. And I think this year we're going to rise up. Down one Falcons fan for life. Ask Ryan Tannehill to Atlanta. I do not think so. He would be a great mentor for Desmond Ridder, and he would be a really good backup if Desmond Ridder does not work out. And he's also worked with Arthur Smith before. Obviously, we saw how well that went. So, I see why it should happen, but I don't know. For now, I'll say no. I sort of hyped myself up for that as I was talking about it, but I'm trying to stick to what I was going to say. But I mean, I don't know, I'm kind of buying into it, but for now, I'll say no. But I wouldn't hate the signing if we got him. Archangel asks, despite what all the fans and critics and analysts are saying about the Falcons' record, and if they win the NFC South or make it the playoffs or not, block it all out, what does Logan think is your honest opinion about this year's Falcons today? What will be our record? Will we go to the playoffs? Will we win a game or two if we go to the playoffs? Will we win the division this year? I think 11 wins is best case scenario. I know I just said it, but I don't think our team is good yet for 12 wins. I don't think, yes, it's an easy schedule, and that's why ultimately I think we will make the playoffs, because the NFC and our division and our schedule is very, very weak. And you can't look at that and not think we're a playoff team. I know in the beginning I did, but as time went by, I was like, okay, I see it now. So it's hard to say that we can't make playoffs, especially with all the offseason moves we made. But you also cannot look at the schedule and say win, all the time. I just think 12 wins is a little too high. I really do. There's still some things that need to be figured out for this team. We still have to get Desmond Ridder going. We still have to get our defensive coordinator going. There are still some things to figure out for this team. But I think 11 wins is probably best case. Worst case is maybe 9 wins, probably, maybe 8, honestly. If we just suck that bad with Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke, if they're just that bad, then maybe 8 or 9 wins. But that's if they're that bad. What do I think will realistically happen? Is probably 9 or 10 wins. I think that's the most realistic approach, right? And then, are we going to make the playoffs? I think that's just too easy with this schedule and all that. Will we win the division? Sure. We have to worry about the Panthers. But most teams with a rookie quarterback usually do not make playoffs. I know Desmond Ridder didn't play for that long last year, but he still has some experience. So I'm basically saying that I think Desmond Ridder has a little more experience to hopefully get us a step further than the Panthers. And I think the Falcons have just had a better offseason than the Panthers, even though the Panthers did have a great offseason. But I would say we can win this division. Will we? Sure. I don't really see why not. Will we win a playoff game? No. I think we're a little too inexperienced. And if we win a game, it'll only be one. I don't see us going farther than that. But I think it'll take some time for this team to get going. But that home crowd is going to be exciting if we make the playoffs. I'll say that. Because it's been a while since the Falcons have made the playoffs. That home crowd will be excited to see them back. Archangel asks, how high is the bar for Drake, in your opinion? Also, with yards, catches, and touchdowns, I think he's going to bounce back. Well, not really bounce back, but just have a better year than he did last year. I think he will get 1,000 yards. It's a shame that he didn't last year, but I think he will get 1,000 yards this year and maybe get, 6 or 7 touchdowns. Again, the only reason it's that low is because I think the running game is going to get the majority of the touchdowns. So don't take 6 or 7 touchdowns as bad. maybe even less than that, to be honest with you. I'll be honest. I think he could get less than that only because the running game is going to get most of those scores. But I think Drake London will be a big factor there. And then catches, maybe, again, I know it's low. It's low, I know. But what's super accurate here? What is super accurate? What is super accurate here? I'm blanking out for some reason. I'm blanking out on catches for some reason. Either way, I think Drake London could be a better player this year, and hopefully he can improve. Archangel asks, what would be a good fit song or hype song, introduction song to get the team hyped and crowd before a game, and every year we get a touchdown? In your humble opinion, Logan, I have to get this right. Now, I'm trying to really get this right because, I know that football is mostly on the hip-hop side of things, and I like hip-hop music, but not as much as I did. So please forgive me if, I don't mention a great hip-hop song that's going around. Because, when I go to football games, they mostly play hip-hop and rap and all that. I don't know. I guess it's like a football thing. So, I don't know. I need to really get this right here. But, either Welcome to Atlanta, because at this point, it really feels like anytime you enter Atlanta, you are entering dangerous territory, right? The last few years, it was like, people probably weren't too scared to face us. This year, hopefully, is a different story. So it's like, welcome to Atlanta, where the real, literal players play with Grady Jarrett and Calais Campbell and all that. Or, I'll have to say, I'll try not to answer too much because my hip-hop knowledge is not as high as it once was. I'm sorry if that was a bit of a disappointing answer, but I would just have to say welcome to Atlanta, though, because, welcome to Atlanta, where the players play. Archangel asks, who's your favorite offensive player this year? Bijan Robinson. That'll be so awesome to see. Just Bijan lighting up the scoreboard, and everyone's predicting 2,000 yards. So they really, really think highly of him. Will he get 2,000 yards in his rookie year? Well, it's possible. Am I going to go that far? Probably not, because I would hope that they still want to get Tyler Algier and Cordell Patterson going. But, if you got 2,000 yards, yay, that's awesome. That would be cool to see. Bijan Robinson's going to absolutely light up the scoreboard, and he looks like he's so confident in himself, which I love. You could tell that man has absolutely no worry in his mind that he's going to succeed in the NFL. He knows he will, and he's on the perfect team to succeed, so that'll be awesome to see. Archangel asks, what new additions of the Falcons jerseys are you purchasing this year? Part of me would want to get a gradient jersey only because I love the gradient jerseys. It's a shame they're taking that away, basically. I don't really know if I'm going to be purchasing jerseys. I try to stay away from jerseys only because, jerseys are kind of scary to get. 1 second you're happy you got a player's jersey, and then you find out then they start to play for a team you don't like, and then, or something like that, and it's like, well, now I can't really wear his jersey, or something like that. So I don't know, jerseys are kind of hard to get, and if I get jerseys, I just make it custom. I just kind of put my own name on there or something, but I don't know if I'll be getting jerseys. I guess I'll have to look a little more into that. What I could do is, by the way, I do have a new Falcons edition to hang up on the wall. I know people were wondering about that. I just, I have to get something set up. I think you're going to like it, but maybe I could get a little custom jersey on this side of the wall and hang it up, which would be kind of cool. So it's an idea. Archangel asks, who will break out Player of the Year for the Falcons team this year? It's got to be Kyle Pitts, please. Utilize him, Arthur Smith. He's not going to listen to this, but if he does, please utilize him. Kyle Pitts, is secretly like forgotten about for some reason, and people are like saying that he's a bust. Arthur, you can't let that happen, right? It's a tight end, your favorite position. So get Kyle Pitts going. Make him basically comeback player of the year. Even if he doesn't win it, I still want it to feel like he won it. He's still this generational talent that you got. When you utilize Kyle Pitts, the Falcons are like undefeated. So get him going, please. I know you want to get the run game going, but let's get this Kyle Pitts dude going as well, please. And if it's not him, Bijan Robinson could break out. I can see AJ Terrell really coming back. One of those players. Archangel asks, what is your go-to snack, meal, or drink when you're watching the game at home, the bar, or at the game? If it's not a Sunday, Chick-fil-A literally every time. Because I love Chick-fil-A, but because it's on Sundays, I usually can't get that. So what is my go-to meal? Okay, this is terrible. This is really bad. I like try to stay fit and work out, and then I just ruin it. But I can't tell you why. I have no idea why. But for some reason, I like Five Guys on Sunday. For some reason, I don't know why. Like I must have had Five Guys on a Sunday for Football Sunday before I started Rise Up Rundown, and now I guess I made a good memory with Five Guys and watching football, and I just get Five Guys all the time. It's weird. Five Guys isn't even like, it's not like amazingly good for me either. I don't know, it like slaps for some weird reason. Just, like getting that, I think it's a double cheeseburger, and then I never really even finish the fries, but I get them anyway. So I don't know why I get fries if I never even finish it. And then I always just mix up the milkshake every time because it just slaps. Like a strawberry or like a caramel milkshake. Dang it, I'm gonna get some Five Guys after this, aren't I? I mean, yeah, I would have to say Five Guys. It's a weird snack because a lot of people would say something else, but it's what it is. I guess it's my snack. Brent asked, the Falcons can't afford to do worse than 7-10, or really 9-7, because Arthur Blank will be in year 3 of the Terry, Fontenot, and Arthur Smith regime. And if we don't make the playoffs this year, regardless, then AB will need to clean house again because he's in his 80s now, and he can't, and he ain't gonna be around much longer, and his patience is wearing thin, which I agree with. And by the way, in the last mailbag question, I said that Arthur Smith was in his 80s. I meant Arthur Blank. But I have to agree with that. Like, if I always did say that the goal for this year's Falcons should make the playoffs. And if they don't make the playoffs, as much as I always love to defend Arthur Smith, you have to put him on the hot seat. I don't know if you fire him, but you put him on the hot seat. And if you don't make playoffs in year 4, that isn't easy. Like, yeah, we need to fire Arthur Smith, but Terry Fontenot has been doing his job. I don't know if you fire him, but Arthur Smith has to get this team into the playoffs, especially with all that we got going on and the schedule and all that. Arthur Blank is such a great, sweet, humble, it feels like he's a young man just because of how kind he is and how ambitious he is. It feels like he's a young man. I don't know. Honestly, that should be your motivation, if anything, is just win it for Arthur Blank. I love Arthur Blank. I think is he the best owner in the league? Honestly, like, I'm not even trying to be biased, but I would honestly say so. Like, how well he built that stadium and the concession stand prices there. And I saw Tom Grossi's video on, the 30 for 30, 30 and 30, I think it's called. And there were a lot of things that the stadium does that I didn't know about, but it's really making me appreciate what Arthur Blank does for Atlanta. Bringing in the jerseys that everyone wanted, a redesign. And he did redesign the jerseys. And I know a lot of people don't like them, but still, he did his job and, redesigned the jerseys. I'm really, really appreciative of what Arthur Blank does, and I think you should win it for him. Archangel asks, how high is your bar raised for Bijan Robinson this year? How many yards? How many touchdowns? So I just, 2,000 yards, I think is a little much for a rookie, but I think he can, I'm saying it's possible. I just, I think it's a little too much because he's a rookie, and we're probably going to utilize Tyler Algier and Cordero Patterson still. We'll sure as hell combine for a lot more than 2,000 rushing yards or more, like total, because I just think this run game is going to be very historic. But Bijan Robinson, I think he'll get very close. Like, I think he actually, yes, I do think this. I think he is capable of like 1,500 yards or even more. Like, yes, I think he is capable of that much. Touchdowns, oh my gosh, he's going to get so much. I think he's probably going to be the lead scorer this year. And again, I think he's going to get most of the touchdowns, so like 12 or 13. And then, what was the other? Oh no, that was it. He's going to get a lot of playing time, and it'll be exciting. Archangel asks, how high is the bar raised for Kyle Pitts this year? Remember, he was drafted the highest drafted tight end ever, number 4 overall a couple years ago. So how many catching yards and touchdowns you have him producing this year? I mean, he's got to get 1,000, Arthur Smith. Please get him 1,000. I think that should be the goal, is to get him 1,000. And if you're going to get the running game to get most of the touchdowns, fine. But at least get him like 4 touchdowns maybe. Because like, you know, he only had 1 in his first year and then 2 in his second year. Like, get him like 4 or 5 or something. Like, if you're going to pass the ball, I would like to see Kyle Pitts be the lead receiver in touchdowns, I guess. Even though I like Drake London, but I would like to see Kyle Pitts get utilized, Arthur Smith, please. Like, he should be the workhorse outside of Bijan. I think that is an easy, like, you know, decision to do for the Falcons, is to get him going. So please do that. Archangel asks, who is your defensive player outside of AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates, and Grady Jarrett? I'm going to have to say Calais Campbell. Like, even when he was on the Cardinals, I remember that you know, one of the reasons I wanted that 2015 Cardinals team to win the Super Bowl was because of Calais Campbell. I loved his energy. I loved his passion for the game, how humble he was, how much of a leader he was. And he might not be prime Calais Campbell anymore, but he was still awesome to see play. And it's just, you know, it's a feel-good moment to see him on this team now. It looks like he has a good relationship with Arthur Blank and the leadership here, and hopefully he can get things going. I would love to see Calais Campbell get going. Archangel asks, who is the one Falcons player that you think deserves a little more recognition than not of social media, including Falcons content creators on YouTube, is talking about on the Falcons right now? Could be any position, new or old. I don't think anyone's talking about Richie Grant enough. Like, everyone's hyping up Jeff Okudah because he's not going to be the guy, and he could benefit from that, and AJ Terrell, and Jesse Bates, and Clark Phillips. Why is no one talking about how Richie Grant could benefit from a great secondary this year? Shouldn't we hope that he develops too? Like, he was a 2nd-round pick in the 2021 draft. Do I think he's going to improve? Yes. Are my expectations like super high? Not really. I just kind of think he'll be improved, but not like that much. But we should still hype him up and hope that he improves too, right? Like, you know, he was a 2nd-round pick, and I really like that pick. Why is no one talking about him? I think we should pay a little more focus and attention on him. Archangel asks, are you a little superstitious like me before watching games? And if so, what do you do to help our Falcons win? I love that question. I think everyone's got some sort of, like, deep down they have some sort of secret to just hope that the Falcons win. Like, you know, there's videos on YouTube that I've ran into that kind of make fun of the fact that they're like, oh my gosh, if this person watches the TV, that means that they're not going to win. So I hope this person just stays away from this TV. Like, it's weird, I know, but we all do it. Like, we all have this weird thing that we do to hope the Falcons win. What do? I manifest it way too many times. Like, when I wake up, if I have the thought of we're not going to win, like, I take it away so quickly. Like, I'm like, I'm not feeling good. No. I am feeling good. I am feeling good about this game. And I just keep saying it. And, you know, if I'm like watching the highlights to our previous game or something, it's weird. If I'm watching the highlights to the game, I only look at the Falcons. I never look at the opponent players. Like, I try to, like, keep my eye off of those players, because I feel like if I put my eye on the opponent, it, like, attracts the next opponent that we're playing to win. It's weird. I know. I'm sorry. It's just weird. But it's what I do. I have these weird, I don't know, I have these weird things that I do. There's way more than that. Like, if I'm texting my brother, like, I try my best not to text him something negative about the team, because I just know, like, I'm secretly manifesting a loss. Like, if I say, I think this will be a tough game, I just, in my heart, feel like, well, I made the Falcons lose because I said it's a tough game. It's weird, I know. So I just say, like, you know, this should be a win. Even if I don't think it'll be a win, I kind of go like, this should be a win. I don't know. It's really weird, but I'm like really like I'm insecure when it comes to the Falcons playing games. I want them to win, and I know you can't win them all. But yeah, that was like the weirdest thing ever that I explained, but it's what it is. And that was it. That was the most mailbag questions I ever received, and I have to thank you all for the bottom of my heart. Thank you. That was a lot of great questions, and I'm thankful to be doing this for you all. And thank you for your patience, by the way. I know it got moved from Wednesday to Saturday. There were just some things that came up. But thank you all for tuning in. And that was a lot of fun. And I can't wait for next week's video. Hopefully I'll be getting some more things hung in the background, you know, like on this side and whatnot. But if I missed any questions, I apologize. Those were the questions that I just received coming in. And I will see you guys with a video this Wednesday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern. And with an interview coming soon. I'm not sure when yet, but it is coming. But I'll let you know, of course. But thank you all for the love and support. I sincerely appreciate it, and rise up.